Hey Bookworms, we're going to do our bookmark. Going forward with these, I plan on doing a bookmark each time because these are really cool and fun and we got some good feedback about it, but I will start doing them at the beginning of the quarter instead of waiting to the end like I did with this one. So I apologize. Like I started thinking about the other day how I hadn't done it yet and it didn't make sense that I should have done it in the beginning. So you had your pretty bookmark to put into your... Did I put 3 in everybody's or did I just accidentally have 3 in mine? Well, if you do, that'll be fun to add extra. I can't remember if I did that or not. Okay, so I'm going to set my little arrows to the side, pull my bookmark over. I've got my acrylic. Acrylic works best on this printed canvas. And then I've got some of my brushes and some water. So the colors I have right now, I've got like a dark green, a mixture of green and brown I made. I don't know if I'm going to use that. We've got some green, some blue, some dark brown, red, white. I am going to add more of my other green. So I've got the really dark green over here in the corner. Here, let me pull this really dark green up here. I'm gonna add more of this green though. This medium green color. And then I've got my brushes. I'm probably gonna mainly use my small round brush, this one here, the number 5. Okay. And then I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I do want to put, I'm gonna use my flat number 8 too. Right? Yes. I'm going to put some of the blue in the background first. So I'm going to start back here. I've got my metallic blue. I'm just going to get this background in here first. And go around our Robin Hood. I'm going to do little swirls after I get on there. I feel like it looks more like clouds when I do that. And then over here around the bow, between the tree. Okay, and then I'm going to grab my paper towel and dab to give it a cloudy look in the background there. Okay, much better. Pull some of this down. It's not quite so bright. And then back to my round. Okay, so we're going to start with, I feel like I'm going to do him last is what I want to do. I'm going to start up here with the trees. I'm going to switch back to my flat brush. I feel like that's covers a little more area to start off with, just like my base colors. So I'm going to do the light green up in here. And you can see I've got it watered down enough I can still see my print really well. That's what's so cool about these, is that even if you're not a great painter or if you don't want to put a lot of detail into this, even just that will look really neat with just this extra little detail. Because you could just do a bunch of washes. I'm going to do the same light color green down here on the foliage at the bottom. Over here as well. Okay. And then I'm going to switch to that mid-tone green. And I'm going to give his clothing an all-over wash in the mid-tone green. I'm going to do his boots. Okay, so there is our green wash all over Robin Hood there. Okay. Now I'm going to switch to this brush. This will be a little bit easier for some of the detail. I'm going to get a little bit of that brown that I mixed there on the tree. Okay, and then same thing with down here on the pathway. Kings Road. All right. So I've got all my base colors on now. For the most part anyway. I need to do his bow, and then I'm going to do his skin tone. I do need to get that on there too. So I did not put, I need a touch of yellow. I'm going to mix the skin tone. So give me just a second and get this yellow out. A teeny tiny bit. And I'm just going to mix my skin tone right in there. So I've got my yellow, red, and white. I just need a little bit of white. Start mixing that in. And then a teeny tiny touch of red. That's what I usually have the most trouble with, is picking up too much red. So that's pretty good already. I need a little more white. Still a little more white. Still too peachy, too bright. That's pretty good. So you can see that color right there. I'm gonna rinse my brush out because I don't want that much in my brush when I go to, and I'm gonna dab it, make sure it's not drippy, because I want to have control over this tiny spot. All right. I need enough to still sort of see his features through there. There we go. Now, if you already have skin tone, great. Go ahead and use that. That would be awesome. Okay, let's see if there's anything else. I'm gonna put a little more green right through here. Okay, so now that the wash is all in there, I feel like I can go ahead and start putting in some of the detail. So I want these back here brown. Now what I'm gonna do, instead of watering the paint down, I'm gonna just use the paint darker. So just in some of the areas where there's like shadow, I'm gonna add just some of the darker green to give it a little more depth. So I'm just adding, well actually the mid-tone green is what I'm adding over the shadowed areas of his cloak and stuff. And because there's already a shadow under that, it creates even more depth there, which looks really cool. But like I said, the main thing I'm doing is still the same color, I'm just not watering it down. So I'm just hitting where the shadows are. Look how cool that's starting to look. I'm just sort of outlining him a little bit to deepen that green up in some of those areas. Now I'm not even going to wash my brush. I'm going to grab a tiny bit of this dark brown and I'm going to go around the edges of his boots with that. If you have paint markers, I think these would be awesome to do with paint markers. I think I showed you guys in a couple other videos my paint markers that I got off Amazon, super inexpensive, and I've loved them. They've been really fun to play with. So I think that would make things really fun and easy too if you did something like that. Even easier than using the brush here like I have. So depending on what you want to do or your skill level. And then, you know, on our weekly whimsy booklet, we added, after we painted, we added a little bit of like pencil, colored pencil on top. Oops, that's a lot. And that works really good for adding detail in too. So it's really up to you. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of brown. I'm going to water it down just a tiny bit this time and add a little brown, like in a little bit, to get a little more depth in some of the parts that I want around his cloak. Just want it a little darker through here. There we go. And then he's got something here on his belt. And the belt here. Add a little shadow to his hands. And then his face. So this is the part that's hardest, I feel like. So depending on how comfortable you feel with the face, especially that tiny. So I'm just sort of giving it a little bit of a wash of brown to give it some shadow. I'm going to add a tiny bit of red to the ends of the bows back here. And then, let's see, or not the bows, the, what are they called? The arrows. There we go. Okay. So right there, I just actually wiped away some of the paint that hadn't dried completely to give it a little more crisp of a line. Okay. That's really dark. There we go. Might come back with a pencil for that. Okay. Now I want to add a little more depth and stuff to the trees and to the foliage and to the ground. So I'm going to go in with my mid-tone green up here in the trees. And I'm just going to sort of stamp my brush to get sort of like leaf texture. I'm using my paint really thickly. And then I'm going to grab this really dark green over here. It's super, super dark. And add just a little bit, especially down at the bottom. Give it a little more depth. So we've got 3 colors going on. And then going back in with my dark green again, my really dark one. I'm going to add some detail to these leaves down here, just to the edge of them, so you can sort of see. Oop. There we go. Just to the edge, and then add a little water to blend out. So you can see I'm almost like creating a shadow under the leaves. And then with a little bit of water, I'm going to blend those lines out. And little tufts of grass here and there. Okay. Rinse my brush really good. I'm going to add some dark brown to the tree over here. Give it a little more depth. Okay. Then add a little more around the bottom, around the, especially the edges underneath the foliage. Add in some depth there, give him a little bit of a shadow. Add some texture in there. But we want like the shadow created by the foliage, so under the leaves and stuff we want a little more. Okay. And then I need my arrow down up here. I have not, I'm going to turn this sideways. Not painted my arrow yet. And then I need some red. Should be a little red poking out back here. There we go. I'm going to try a regular pencil. I'm going to see what this does, but I might go to my colored pencils, see if I can darken up his features a little bit. Actually, that's working pretty good. All right. I actually really like the regular pencil. Weird. There we go. I'm going to darken up some of the areas with my pencil here. Just my regular number 2. I feel like this is adding just the right amount of detail for me. I'm actually going to fill in the arrow tip with that too. Okay. That's cool. I like how well this pencil's working. It's pretty nice. Oh my gosh, it even erases a little bit. That's wild. Okay, so this is the trick. It's just a regular number 2. I feel like this definitely gives a cool sketched feel to this now. And I can still see all my lines and everything, but they sort of got lost a little bit. So this definitely, especially for him, makes it stand out a little better. I like that so much. It looks very neat. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm gonna attempt to put a little more shadow on his face. Let's see if I can do this without messing it all up. So I'm adding just a tiny bit of watered down brown. I just want, like, so we can barely see his face there. I don't know if I can get it the right consistency though. It's getting close. Better. That's better. A little better. Let's see if my pencil will do it for me. That actually worked better for me. Go figure. All right. I love it. Should have done this at the beginning. I apologize again. Like I said, guys, I will get these out to you much earlier in the quarter so you can have them for your books. And then we just have a couple more things to do. All right. A little more drying to happen up at the top here. I actually don't know if I want those that intense. There we go. Let me pull him up. So let's see if I get it to focus. Looks like a book sketch. Little illustration in our Robin Hood book. Okay, so let me set this to the side. I want to show you just a couple little tricks that I did with my ribbon and my arrows. So let me think. What did I do? Hold on, I'm thinking. I pulled these through. I'm like blinking out now. Okay, I think, did I do this first? Okay, I'm gonna cut these at a sharper angle. Maybe. Ha! My scissors are not working. There we go. All right, so see how pointy? And it's synthetic ribbon, so I just melted that a tiny bit and it stiffens it up a little and makes it so you can just pull it through super easy. Okay, so there's that. Actually, I'm gonna do both of them. Should I do? No, I'll do the other one differently. Okay, or separately. So same thing, really pointy if I can get it. I don't have my fabric scissors in here. And then just barely touch it with the heat. And then grab and pull through. So if you need to, definitely use a needle. I just thought that was a cool little trick for the way that worked. And then I'm trying to remember how I did these exactly. I think I just knotted this. And my arrow, pull that down. Same thing with this side. Okay. So then we've got our two arrows hanging there like that. So now we can trim this off right here so there's not so much of a tail, and then you hit this and it'll melt that all together, and then it won't pull apart and it doesn't like show as much. So trim that off. Let me tighten that up a little bit. Hold on. Trim that off as close as I can get to the knot. And then, like I said, hit it with heat again. Please don't burn yourself or burn your house down. Be responsible with your fire. There we go. So then I've got both my arrows hanging there. And then I loop through and then pull both ends through like that. And I like them where they're off, like hanging off by like slightly different amounts. I'm actually gonna push that through a little bit more. Well, I'm not do it. You know what? Here, let me see if I can fix it. Hold on. I don't want them hanging side by side, if that makes, like I want them like off center. There we go. Let's see. I want it about right there where the other one's hanging right above. Now grab and pull through. There we go. All right, so now you can see they're hanging one right above the other. So that'll look really cool hanging out the back of your book there. All right, so there is our really fun bookmark for our Robin Hood book that we finally finished. And then I'll have to remember how much I liked just the regular number 2. That looks so cool. Look, they're giving them a little more shadow. I feel like that looks good. All right, you guys, I'm excited to see yours. They're always so beautiful. And I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.